Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Now, today we're going to be taking a look at some insights into the recent events in Kenya. All right, for those of us that already know, there was this issue about taxation in Kenya. I think President Ruto wanted to introduce some sort of strenuous and uncomfortable taxes on the people of Kenya. So there was an outburst of reaction from the local population there, and it was really massive. The reason why I'm bringing this up is that this is the entrepreneurship series, and in this series we try to look at issues surrounding entrepreneurship in Africa, and things and suggested steps that government in Africa can take towards avoiding such risks. All right, so let's just sit back, relax, and make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, turn on the bell notification for notification purposes, and leave a relevant comment as we go through this video together by Democracy Now. All right.
William John. William John. William John. William John. William John. William John. William John.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. In Kenya, at least 22 people have been killed, dozens more injured as nationwide protests intensify after lawmakers approved a contested finance bill Tuesday that would hike taxes. Police fired live rounds, rubber bullets, tear gas at thousands of protesters who stormed Kenya's parliament in Nairobi, angered by the measure, which would skyrocket the cost of goods and services in Kenya.
Now, she's mentioning something here, the cost of goods and services. Now, we're still going to come back to that, but let's just keep listening.
Help pay off billions in foreign debt, including the International Monetary Fund and World Bank.
The government did to deploy a lot of force on us. It wasn't good. Yeah, we are not happy about it because they killed our colleagues and fellow youths. It's not okay. It's very bad. We are demonstrating peacefully. It's our right to demonstrate.
Demonstrations also continued in other parts of Kenya, including the coastal city of Mombasa.
The taxes are so high. We are being taxed our salary, and any other thing that you are going to buy with the little that you're remaining with is also taxed. So I think let us just demonstrate. We don't want to be amended. We want it to be rejected in totality.
This comes as 400 Kenyan soldiers arrived in Haiti Tuesday, the first contingent of U.S.-backed troops sent to combat worsening gang violence in Haiti. Many Haitians have opposed the mission, saying past international interventions have contributed to political destabilization and humanitarian crises in Haiti. For more, we're joined by a number of people in Nairobi and beyond. Faith Odhiambo is with us, president of the Law Society of Kenya. We're also joined by Mamka Anyona, who is international finance and development expert from Kenya, who is joining us today from Kigali, Rwanda. And in a moment, we'll be joined by Auma, the Kenyan-British community activist, sociologist, and author, and half-sister of former U.S. President Barack Obama, tear gassed yesterday in the protests. But we're going to stay in Nairobi. Faith Odhiambo, thank you for joining us. Explain what these protests are about. We talked about the number of people killed, perhaps 22, it could be more. We don't know how many people have been disappeared. The president, Ruto, who actually just went to Washington to meet with President Biden, is also calling out the Kenyan military.
Well, the protest started with regards to the proposed new Finance Bill 2024, and it started with discussions on what the bill is about, what it will mean on the cost of living, and all the taxes, both excise duty, VAT, as well as increase of tax in so many goods. And so I think the movement started that we should not have this finance bill. We're already raising over a number of billions with the old Finance Bill 2023, which was equally difficult for Kenyans to embrace. But at that time, we recognized that the country was not doing well, and we needed to pay a bit more taxes to ensure stability. But this new bill is quite heavy on the people, to raise an extra 302 billion, which would mean those who even in Kenya now, we have people who live in a dollar in 2 or 3 days. So it means that certain people are going hungry, and there's no much substantial amount going into budgets, going into the budget going into education, going into development of industry. We see more budget going to unconstitutional offices. We have the office of the first the wife of the president, then we have the wife of the deputy president, then we have the wife of the prime minister, which are all unconstitutional offices. And the government is spending hundreds of millions allocating funds to those offices. Then we have renovations that are being done to the office of the president and the vice and the deputy president, which Kenyans are saying this is wanton wastage. And then we see the opulent lives led by some of the cabinet secretaries close to the president. They have been in office coming now to, this will be their second year.
Now, let me just pause this here. This madam here called Miss Faith Odhiambo, I guess she's a Kenyan. She has made a lot of very, very solid points in commentary. And I think one of the most important things she mentioned is the cost of governance. It seems as if these African countries have similar problems. Are you getting it? I don't think they understand that making Africa develop, through entrepreneurs, SMEs, small and medium enterprises, I don't think they really realize that these are the key components, the key organizations that can actually make economic turnarounds, and their survival is very important. If the environment is too harsh for them to operate, I mean, how are they going to bring employment and other economic benefits to the local population? I've often talked about local population and taking a very, very good step in embracing and giving local atmosphere, friendly and a very, very, very appreciating environment for them to operate local production. All right. So if the government in Kenya wants to increase taxes and increase their source of income, what about the excess spending on government arms? And that is what this madam here, this Miss Faith, is talking about. And the same or similar problem is happening even in Nigeria, because there's so much. People have always talked about the large expenditure of a lot of government arms. All right, why not cut down on this excessive cost of governance and encourage SMEs, small and medium enterprises, to thrive? This will keep the youths at bay and not make them go to the Mediterranean or look for some kind of extreme ways of surviving, and so on and so forth. So let's just keep listening and take note of more points.
And yet when you see the way they live, it does not amount, you cannot account for their lifestyles. It's obvious corruption. several corruption cases that come and there's no government action by the executive. And these are loans, and we are raising more money to pay those loans which disappear.
Now, talking about loans, she's mentioning loans too. One of the ways in which the pathways or the factors of bringing about, making applicants poor is through loans and handouts. I also made mention of this in some of my earlier videos. Are you getting it? So the point here is that Africa doesn't have any business with loans or handouts, because they have resources in the ground that can, if fully processed to its final stage of consumption, could bring in tons of not just financial rewards, but human and material benefits. But the problem has always been the leadership. Poor leadership, poor policy, and poor policy implementation, and so many things is just keeping Africa in the cage. Okay, just like what this woman is talking about.
Corruption. So once the Kenyans started analyzing what it means in the healthcare sector, we've changed the healthcare care system, making it more expensive for Kenyans with less services, cutting out a huge number, particularly the youth, in receiving certain healthcare services, even stunning in terms of cancer. And so people are realizing the government is on a money-making mission. No one is caring for the people. No one is caring about the healthcare sector. No one cares about the education sector. No one cares about the small and medium-sized business. We've had quite a...
You see that now, the woman has just mentioned what I was talking about, inclusive of the SMEs and of course education. These are the critical areas, the SMEs, the education sector. These are two critical areas that really need encouragement by any sitting government.
Of businesses moving out of the country last year, and so many businesses closing down. And the most funny thing was, I remember the chair of the Finance and Budget Committee, when people were presenting views and what this bill would mean to business, and he was saying then just leave the country and go and set up in another country. So it shows they don't care as long as we raise money.
We also have Faith of the Auma. We also have joining us Auma, the half-sister of former President Barack Obama, who participated in the protest and was tear-gassed recently. Welcome to Democracy Now! And could you talk to us about why you participated in the protest and what happened?
Well, thank you for having me. I participated because in my work, I work for children and young people, in other words, the Gen Zs, in my foundation, and also my staff are 60% Gen Zs and millennials. So I had to be there because I have to present the voice of those young people, because that is what my foundation is called, Sauti Kuu Foundation, which means powerful voices. On a personal level, I was there because I also feel strongly that there are items in the financial bill that are not for the benefit of the Kenyan people. The Kenyan people are struggling, especially the young people. We have over 50% of people who are not in work. They have no jobs, but they're going to be taxed, and then we'll end up having debt to the government. We have ancestral homes that are now being we're having the feeling that we're being threatened because there are taxes that are being introduced that will force our grandmothers and our great-grandparents and our parents to pay for the land that they've lived on for thousands of years. These considerations have to be taken to see how Kenyans can cope with such taxes. We need to create jobs before we start taxing people. We need to show what we're doing with our taxes before we start taxing people, so people can be on your side. You have to listen to the people, and especially the young people, because it is their future, and they're seeing the mess we're making of this future. And that's why I'm there. I was there as what I'm calling a Gen Wazee, because Wazee means old people in Kiswahili. We are the generation of old people who made that mess. And if we need to fix it, we need to have the young people on board, and that is why I was there. And the fact that I was tear gas was just a side, effect. It's what they are going through daily. They're being directly targeted with water, with tear gas, with live bullets, with rubber bullets. They've been killed, walking the streets for us. in order for our country to be a better country. So, to be honest, I could not have not been there to answer your question.
And Auma Obama, can you talk about the IMF pressuring the Kenyan government to enact these so-called fiscal reforms? Talk about the debt and what should happen to it in Kenya, why it's even called a debt.
I think that debt is irresponsible, and it's a pattern that is continued again and again on our continent in the different countries. Why would you give somebody who has no way to pay you back a loan? None of us would do it if we have, if we're thinking sensibly. We're running our countries on debt. We're running our...
You see, running Africa on debt is another, like I said previously too, right, earlier on in this analysis and review, you shouldn't live on debt. I'm going to make a special video for everybody on financial intelligence. All right, if you're living anywhere on the continent, make sure you're subscribed to this channel as I update and I upgrade this entrepreneurship series. All right, the content along this entrepreneurship series on this channel. In financial intelligence is one of the most absent, what I call it, skills or attributes that a lot of African leaders and even Africans have. You need to have financial intelligence. Why should you be running on debt? The only reason why debt should come is that you know that you are going to pay beyond that debt. You are investing into something that will stop that debt, that will no longer make you a debtor, but rather a creditor. That is exactly the bottom line of any good loan. All right, if you're taking a loan and your loan is sinking you further into debt, oh man, then you need to really have a rethink. You seriously need to have a rethink about that particular loan in question. So this is very, very important, just like this woman is also narrating here.
Countries knowing full well that our communities, our people do not have the financial power to have enough money to put into our coffers to pay off that debt. So why would we get indebted? Why are we such an expensive country to run when the majority of people are so poor? That's the question that we need to ask. That's the question our people who loan us money should be asking themselves. We are not a viable society as yet to have such big debts. And this is what the young people are asking. They're not stupid. They can do the math. So they're asking, why would we have such a high debt when we don't have good health care, when we don't have quality education, when we don't have roofs over our heads? It doesn't add up. And this is the question being asked and the question everybody's asking. So our leaders need to be more responsible. Our leaders must learn to say no as the young...
I'm all in for that. Africa needs more responsible government. This just cannot be overemphasized.
People are saying no. The thing about this demonstration, the thing about this protest is not to threaten the leaders. The young people do not want to lead. They do not want our leaders to actually even leave. Now they want them to leave because they are fed up. But in reality, what they want is our leaders to be responsible leaders that are thinking of the benefits for the Kenyans. They must work for us because we put them there. We employ them, and that is where humility is needed on the part of the leaders to say, let me talk with my young employers. Let me talk with the people who put me here and ask them what it is that they need, and they can do the maths. Do not indebt us and then expect us to pay back a debt that you have created without putting us at the table to be part of the decision.
Auma Obama, we just have 30 seconds. Of course, you have close connections to the United States. Your half-brother, President Obama. Ruto, the president of Kenya, just in Washington, getting tremendous support from President Biden. What do you want the U.S. government to say right now?
I'm sorry, I can't speak for that. And just to make it clear, my brother is not my half-brother, he's just my brother. We don't do halves in Kenya. I can't speak for the US politics. I can only talk for the young people here and what's happening in my country. I'm so sorry. On that level, I'm really not political. I just can talk about what's going on in Kenya.
Well,
I think the US knows what they need to do.
Wow. Well, that video was courtesy Democracy Now! You can check their channel under the description of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let's just hope that some very good thing will happen very soon in Africa, that it will now become the actual promised land that God wants for all Africans to live and thrive and succeed as well as prosper. Please remember to subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell notification. Leave your relevant comment Let us know what you think concerning these issues. Until next time, this is bye for now. Cheers and all the best.